hate that.
Feds are watching, y'all. Feds are watching.
For real. So this session will be shared asynchronously with the rest of our student body and offered for y'all and for our communities if you want to share it. I'm just going to take some time to let everybody come in. Make yourself comfortable.
13% more comfortable.
At least.
Of the hood hippies.
Thanks to Alexis Pauline Gums.
Is that Alexis?
Yeah. Right, she started off a writing workshop like that.
Okay. Oh, this is such a lovely collection of folks. Y'all making me smile.
What are we listening to, Chris?
That was David T. Walker's version of Never Can Say Goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a smooth one.
Yeah, I like that one. Welcome. We're just settling in, waiting for everybody to join us.
You pin Amani's video, that'll get him dancing even more. That's what I try to do.
Invite y'all all into some movement, any kind of movement if you're feeling it. While we're settling in, get your body.
And these are the Jadu sisters. Check them out if you're not familiar. There you go.
We put that in the chat?
Yes, I can.
Good.
Welcome, Francesca.
Welcome, River.
All right, y'all. Amani, would you be willing to kick us off with a little land acknowledgement?
Yeah.
Let me turn these tunes down. Although I'm sorry to see them go. They'll come back later, y'all.
Okay. Good morning, y'all. My name is Amani Will, Amani Way, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge the land that I'm on, and I want to invite us all to take a moment to acknowledge the lands that we are on, and to acknowledge the earth itself and the bodies of water and bodies of land and our plant families and animal families, and want to acknowledge the indigenous people who have been stewarding the lands that we each are on wherever we are for forever, for thousands and thousands of years, for eons, in a very sustainable way. And want to honor here where I am in Wichin, where Darby is, where Amu is, where a lot of us are, in the Bay Area in California, the land of the Lischen, Chochenyo, Ohlone peoples. And it is said that their prayers are part of what bring the Reva evolutionary movements to this place and make it such a hotbed for it. So I want to honor the continuation of their prayers in this process together today with y'all. And want to honor the lands that our technology comes from. all of the precious minerals, all of the indigenous peoples there, all of the peoples put to work to assemble these machines to allow us to have these conversations. And I want to honor the space around us, around this earth that the satellites are occupying, sending these signals, and recognize all who are indigenous to all of these spaces, and bow to our own indigeneity as we uncover it and reclaim it and explore the complexities of where we are and who we are. Ashe.
Shit.
It's an honor to be here today with my brother Chris Darby. We met, shit, like what, 20 years ago or something?
Think plus, bro. Yeah.
Damn. At an organization called the Mosaic Project, doing magic and social justice work and peacemaking in the woods in Napa. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch this brother do all sorts of different things in the world, and such an honor to have him come here and bring some of these teachings and some of these questions, and really excited for us to get into it.
All right, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monty. Appreciate that, and welcome y'all. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're currently sitting. Yeah, some familiar faces, some new faces on this call, so it's really a pleasure to be here. Uh, Let me tell you just a little brief comment on myself. I feel like it's only right. Like I'm a dream guide today, and with any guide who's saying let's go that way, it's like they should tell you a little bit about themselves. But my name is Chris, and I started asking questions related to colonization pretty early on, based on my experience growing up Black middle class in Berkeley, which was this crazy intersection of identities that allowed me to kind of move through different spaces with some proficiency, but never really felt at home in any one of them. And so early on brought up a lot of questions of belonging, place, race, class, assimilation. And so without really naming it as a look at colonization, I was dealing in some of those questions pretty early. And by middle school, that had brought me to a pretty deep study of Black history, especially Black history throughout the Americas, and took that to an academic context when I got to college, where I studied the colonial history of the Americas, really with the focus on the African diaspora. So all that to say, I've spent some dedicated time examining colonialism, especially in this hemisphere. So when these two far out brothers, Amani and Amutabi, asked me to be a part of this exploration of decolonization, I was super intrigued. And Amani will tell you the first time, I'm a contrary brother sometimes. I was like, well, what does that really mean? And that's something that I've turned over in my head a bunch and I don't know. I feel like the term decolonization has been on the ascendancy in the past 10 years. I don't know. I mean, every time you say something like that, you know that there were people holding it long before. But I feel like just in terms of to my ear, it's been coming up more frequently. And I've always felt an affinity towards the term. It's like, yeah. But short of pushing the conquistadors back into the ocean, which I don't think that's what it quite means these days. I've never been really sure about what it does mean. So today, really just want to invite y'all into the exploration with me in a couple different forms. Want to throw some potential example kind of case studies at y'all, so we can collectively wrestle with what is more decolonized, what is more colonized, and then really want to kind of turn the lens to our own decolonial practices, and whether we think of them in that way or not. So that's the basic journey. I would like to start off, because we are new a new constellation here, and would love to just bring up, let me share my screen here, and to just talk about a couple ways we might want to come together as a group, and to make sure it's as generative as a space as possible for folks. And so one thing I would love, and I'm wondering if someone would be down to read this out for me. This is an invitation to brave space by Mickey Scott Bay Jones, that I found useful. And so yeah, wondering if anyone would be down to read that out for the group. Amanda.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. An invitation to brave space. Together we will create brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and we all have caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to move or to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. I read a piece a while ago that it was like a 5-10 page book review that ended with the line, "Your mind is not a safe space," which threw me for a loop for a while. But I think that, we're co-creating here, and being mindful of that space and how we want to steward it is important as we explore. So I'd like to just call us to that. And these are a couple community agreements and practices that generally, when I'm working with groups, try to put forth, and just wanted to see if these are cool with folks, or if anyone has any others to suggest to make it feel like the brave space we're aspiring for here. If you have anything that you feel like you can't agree to here, or anything you'd like to add, feel free to pop it in the chat, so we can track that. But the basic idea is just taking care of ourselves and each other, because again, I think we're in exploration, and that last one I think is important, to expect and accept non-closure, as I don't think we're solving the problem, capital S, in that frame today, but that exploration I think is important. So knowing that, hopefully we'll go on a generative journey today together in our hour and 15 remaining. But again, we probably will not come to any place of completion or full closure. So the saga continues. Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang. Anything to add there, y'all? Cool. So what I like to do, is I'd love to, I want to pop us out into pairs and breakouts to talk about a moment of decolonization. But since we're a small enough group, if y'all would indulge me of just putting your voice in the collective space and just saying hello, and maybe your name, and maybe where you're calling in from, or anything that feels particularly relevant this morning for us to hear. But would just, love to invite everyone's voice into the space if y'all are willing. And maybe I'll just go based on my Brady Bunch squares. Jay, would you be willing to say what's up?
Sure. So I was just playing with breakout rooms, just introduce myself.
Just name and where you're calling in from.
Yeah, my name is Jay. I'm calling in from Oakland, California. Thank you.
Right on. James.
Good morning, everyone. My name is James Amutabi, and I'm calling in from El Sobrante, the leftovers in California.
Amanda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda. I'm calling in from Portland, Oregon, I should specify.
That West Coast one. Bree.
Hi, my name is Bree. I'm calling in from Victoria, BC, Canada, which is the traditional and unceded territories of the Lekwungen speaking peoples.
Thank you. Carolyn.
Hey y'all, I'm Carolyn. I'm in Los Angeles where the Tongva people are.
Thank you. Lisa.
I'm Lisa, and I'm in Oakland, Region Ohlone Territory.
Thank you. Jacobo.
Hey, I'm Jake, calling in from Sea Ranch, California on the Mendocino coast, which I believe was traditionally Pomo.
Thank you. Brooke.
Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm in Jabuktuk, which is called Halifax in Nova Scotia, which is the traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq.
Right on, thank you. Francesca. Oh, Francesca is calling in from New York City, Lenape land. Thank you, Francesca. Uncle Don.
Uncle Don calling in here from Kinlani, also known as Flagstaff, Arizona, traditional home to Hopi, Navajo, Yavapai, Havasupai, and a number of other tribes. It's a very, well, every place is a very special place, but the mountain here is sacred to the Hopi.
Well, thank you. And River.
Hi, I'm River Josera, and I'm on Nishan land, which is now known as mostly as Sacramento. So thank you.
Cool, thank you and welcome. So yeah, this is us, y'all. And I would love to put us in pairs, Jay, and what I'm gonna put is in the chat, the prompts, which is basically just sharing a moment or instance of decolonization. And you know, if recently you have lassoed and pulled down a statue of Christopher Columbus, that counts. If you chose a salad instead of fries at lunch yesterday, that could count too. If you're looking at your students you worked with through an asset lens instead of a deficit lens, that can count. So, really want to be flexible and fluid with that term. And Jay will probably maybe give us 10 minutes in that breakout. And if you all have time after sharing your respective moments or stories with each other, think about what conditions gave rise to that moment. What was the context? What was going on maybe inside of yourself, maybe in your surroundings, and to be able to help foster and facilitate that moment. Does that make sense? Cool. So in a second, y'all will be blasted off into the world of the interwebs, and we'll come back in about 10.
Do you usually pause the recording for these breaks?
Usually. Second. As watching, remember, always remember. Any thoughts coming out of that?
I think the TikTok robot was speaking over you. So can you actually repeat that?
Absolutely.
And I am outing myself as a TikTok aficionado.
Now we know, Carolyn. No, I was just asking if there's anything that came out of those conversations that that you'd like to share in the big space, especially to that second question of what conditions gave rise to that moment for you. Any similarities, any differences? What did y'all get into? Bree?
My partner and I, when we were checking in, like, I'm always tempted to go to these like big, you know, kind of cataclysmic moments about like, when did I first learn about like systemic oppression? But like, for me, like as a disabled person and as a person with other things going on, it's like right now is my moment. Like, I've been struggling so hard with like, I can never possibly do enough. I can never possibly be enough. And like, I just moved and it's triggering all that big time. Like I just got some space around it and some practices, and I haven't been able to do any of my practices because I've been feeling so destabilized. But I was saying, like, it's really hard to not do the thing that I've been conditioned to do. But for me, that's decolonization. It's an inside job. Like, there are so many things in the world that I'd love to be able to show up and do, that I'd love to be able to, you know, to like fix or whatever. But like, the reality is that it's also a mindset. It's a way of living, and it's a way of like bodies, like the governing of bodies and how it governs my body. And so like, that's my thing. That's my colonial moment, is like how I'm showing up right now, and like trying to like decolonize all that shit, and like just taking a breath or whatever I need to just stay with that, and not try to like go beyond my means and take on things that aren't mine to take on, that I'm not available to.
Ashe, thank you so much for sharing, Bree.
Yeah.
Other thoughts or themes? Any sparkings that came out of that conversation for y'all?
Lisa and I had a good conversation about points, like, I believe late in both of our like sort of intellectual and conceptual development on these issues, but just the she mentioned the Derek Chauvin trial and jury selection as a key moment, and then it made me think back to you know, these little things. Like, it's not that these issues weren't central, but like I felt with Michael Brown 2014, Ferguson, that I was naive to think that more people would have interpreted that the way I did. And that was a moment of going back to the classic of like, wow, yeah, racism really is the obstacle to socialism and things like that.
Thank you, Jake. One last person, any last comment before we move on? Keep our exploration exploring.
I'll just say that what Bree was saying, the biggest takeaway was about being gentle with yourself with this stuff. It's so heavy, and we already are, like, life is already hard. And so having this, I feel like it's almost a special ability or something to see past this stuff, or the American stuff, to see the colonial stuff. It could be very daunting, and just taking a breather and being really gentle with yourself and knowing that you'll get there, you know, eventually, to acceptance and growing. And it's just a continual process.
Yeah, like how much of at this juncture, the kind of policing and the deficit lens and the negative self-talk, how much of that can be just internal, you know, and some of those structures that have been in place for so long, and you don't even need the snitch on the corner to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? We're checking ourselves in those ways. So yes, absolutely. So let's jump into a little exploration of what I'm calling case studies, some decolonial case studies. So what I'm going to do is put in the chat a link to a Google Doc. And in that Google Doc, you will see 4 little blurbs. And each of these blurbs, we're going to call one of our case studies. And at the bottom of each one of those blurbs is a statement. And our task ultimately will be to rank that statement on a scale of 1 to 10. And 1, Amani, remind me, 1 is, well, I got it here somewhere. I have to get my scales confused. I think one
is hella, it says in each question, but 1 is hella colonized and 10 is extra decolonized.
Boom, there it is. So, and talk about decolonization, like aware that this is a linear scale, aware that I'm kind of forcing that on us. But the pedagogical move there is to really just kind of try to make us quantify it just as a little bit arbitrary, but hopefully it'll get us talking. And when we think about the whys, we want to put that in that static number. So what I would invite y'all to do is if you have a journal or something like that, or you can think about it in your mind, but each one of them assign a number and put a why. Think about a why to that number. So I'll turn some tunes on. Maybe we'll spend 5 minutes, see how much time folks need. We can stretch a little bit there if we need a little bit more time. But can everyone access that document? Cool. All right. folks use a few more minutes. More time.
Dreams are very often meant to be. If you believe, your life can be so very free. We have our cares, sometimes the future seems unclear. There is a place we all can go, it's very near. Children at play, they really show us how to be. While they are young, they often see what we can't see. Wearing a smile, you never have the time to frown. Dreamer of peace, spread some joy around. Oh yeah, wake up, sweet dreamer, we can make it
All right, y'all, let's take just 30 more seconds on this, and then I'm gonna pop up a little poll on screen so we can share our numbers. And thank you for asking about the tune money. I've had this on every rotation the past week. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna pop if all the technology cooperates, I'm gonna pop a poll out that just asks for the numbers, and would love to see kind of where we landed on these different and tricky, questions, hopefully thought-provoking. Cool, so that should be showing.
Where's the poll pop up?
I don't know. It says it's up there. Is it not shown on the screen?
It looks like other folks are seeing it. I don't see it though.
Yeah, it's right on my screen.
Okay, maybe. Yeah.
I was curious.
Okay, cool.
We can like average out.
Sure.
It's there, but it won't let you click to submit. Huh. Oh yeah, thank you, Bree. Yeah, I think you'll have to scroll and do them all. Right on. I've never done a multi-question poll, so we are in uncharted territory together, y'all. Looks like we have 66% of us have responded. So we'll wait for a couple more. 88%. And actually that I may be the other on that one. So let me show y'all Did everyone get a chance to weigh in who wanted to? Cool. Yeah, so let me share these results. See what it's looking like. So it's looking like we have a little bit of a spread. I like this. Some folks feeling like Lewis McArthur's proposal is hella colonized, and then some folks feeling otherwise. Similar with the, oh, I love this. Similar with that second question, and some of the historical context that is not provided there is that these groups had all fought colonization by the Aztecs in some way, shape, or form. A couple of them were colonized by them actively at the time Cortez and his folks came through, and others had really been resisting that actively. Which gets to a question I'll ask in a second. That trade with the maroon communities was such an intriguing one for me. And it looks like similarly, some folks were feeling like that was hella colonized and others were feeling less so. It gets real confusing in those situations of like, we're talking about provisions for a palenque, a maroon colony, but it engaged in commerce that is based on this colonial order, but is subverting the will of some of the folks who are positioned at the very top of that. And then, ooh, I like this one. Okay, so the biology one, like when we think of ourselves as like the whole species, how we talk about as colonizers, right? And what does that mean in terms of our relationship to the earth? And we could take issue, I think, and this is true with any of those statements. I think with the Encyclopedia of Astrobiology, we can take issue with how they define colonization, which I think is an important point always. But this very idea of the idea of taking up space as a species, and creating shelter, creating permanent shelter, and how far does that take us down the road to colonization off top? And I know in some kind of conversations about oppression and histories, people use the agrarian revolution as a watershed moment in human socialization of what kind of social distinctions were possible moving out of a hunter-gatherer time. And I've also heard some pretty compelling biological takes on like, we don't look at an individual ant as a unit of analysis. We look at a colony of ants or a colony of bees as the unit of analysis. So if we were to not look at ourselves as individuals as the unit of analysis, but our kind of constellations as that unit of analysis, and what does that mean for multiculturalism? What does that mean for different cultures? And again, if we pan out where like skin color, place of origin, background, beliefs, it don't matter, y'all are all humans, like what does that mean for this examination of colonization? So thank y'all for humoring me and playing with me on that one. I want to pop a few questions into the chat that I'd love for us to just mull over, and want to invite folks to unmute and speak up either to these questions or to what kind of came up for you looking at some of those case studies and really playing with the complexity of this idea of decolonization. And again, I think as a group, we kind of fell in different places or saw these different instances as different levels of colonial or decolonial. And we're not here to like create consensus around that, but really just explore some of what sparked when we were looking at that. So let me shut up and see if anyone has any thoughts or questions based on what we just went through and some of those questions in the chat. Breed.
So one of the things, like, I actually enjoy doing the case studies because it helps me just look at it from like a neutral, like, because I know they're based on history, but like, it's like just being able to look at it for like what it is, like the facts, not my feelings about it. The final question threw me because it's like, what do I believe ultimately about humans as a species? Is like, we've just been like colonial from the start. I think in terms of like what decolonization means now and like the work that's necessary is like it. I've tried so hard to go back to like a point of being like, this is the moment. This is the moment when everything shifted, but it's like, it's not like it's not like that. There's just roots and branches, and like they all go off in different directions. And so like I think, and also it's tempting, like from in white supremacy anyways, the good and the bad, the binary thinking of like, okay, so you know, climate change is bad and we're all meant to be like, you know, hippies living out in nature and like hugging trees and stuff, but like the reality is that no matter what choices that we make, there's complicity in death and the exchange of life and death, and that happens no matter what, just by our existence of being here. So if we look at life as a birthright, death as a birthright as well. I think to me the problem is that like a lot of us, and I'll use myself again, my cultures, my people, my ancestors have been so disconnected from the things that give us that accountability for the choices that we make and the deaths, the lives that we take, that it just bleeds into this amalgamation of like no accountability, but also no way out of that bottomless pit of like guilt and shame and abuse and like all of these things, where I think if we take like, sure, humans being here, you know, and now colonization, but like there were so many choices along the way. And also looking in hindsight now, all of the technology that we have, all of the ability that we have to connect with people from different cultures like never before, I don't ultimately think that it's helpful to be like, at what point did this happen? It's like, what are we going to do about it now? How are we going to take the tools that we have now that we've never had before? And maybe it's not about like we went wrong somewhere. Maybe it's just that we never had the information and we could never synthesize it in a way to really understand like the scope. And that's changing every day too. So like, that's kind of more where I go with it now, is like, there's a lot of shit that's fucked up, I'm not gonna lie, but also like people are actually giving a shit about that now, and there's different ways of looking at it. But yeah, like it's tricky to think about, like, are we just like that and nothing's ever going to change, and or like, are we going to be taking these opportunities and using the tools that we have to find different ways of relating?
Thank you so much, Ree. And that sparked a handful of things for me as I was listening to you. A couple like quick ones, like, you know, that imagined golden age, like as a historian or a history nerd, I'll say, like how problematic that is, right? And we know like Make America Great Again, right, is like a shining example of that when we try to find that one moment of time. And like also that complexity being a further invitation into some of that gentleness that we talked about before, and away from those binaries of like, ooh, bad, like wrong, bad, and especially when we're talking about individual folks. And so anyway, seeing some beautiful comments in the chat. Navigational strategies, thank y'all. And this is something that some language picked up in grad school of Professor Aliyah El-Amin. talked about navigational versus transformational strategies. And navigational being, we got to get through the day. We live in a wild context. And so there are some moments where I may be complicit with things that I am not for, but it's for my survival or for me to be able to navigate this wild situation. Transformational really being those things that move to a different paradigm, a different framework, and shift things. And so while at any time, I think we often hold up, especially in spaces like this, transformational action, but I think that there has been more of an awareness recently about how important the navigational strategies are. And this is, I think of like, and Dr. El-Amin really brought this up in the context of African-American elementary student learning and achievement. And so they say, okay, you can, a Black kid can pursue a navigational strategy and like be successful. They graduate, they get a degree, but she makes the point like, it is real success for that student. Like, I'm leaving my neighborhood, I'm away from my people, I have now made it in this white supremacist defined success. That isn't what any young Black child hopes for, unless their imagination is kind of circumscribed by this crazy context. So thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to clarify that. And that question, right? Can navigational strategies be decolonial? So and I think of that Palenque example of that form of trade, right? And so we have folks just like engaging in that trade to sustain this independent, a question of like, is it independent, but this like not your plantation economy, not your plantation labor system. But in doing so, they are engaging with some of the very folks who were holding the whip in that overseer class. So is that decolonial? Anyway, would anyone like to riff on any of these questions? This question of indigeneity is crazy to me, because I think, on the up top when I was saying, I've always had questions about this terminology, and kind of, I think, like, I'll speak for myself, in my lazy thinking, it's like, oh yeah, just like, well, what would the Ohlone do? Like, they should make all the decisions, and we're just bystanders here. We're waiting to hear the word. Like, nah. I don't think that's all the way. And when we look at that episode of Conquest, where we have indigenous people who were colonized by another indigenous people, and who now have a lever to get that boot off of their neck. And now the benefit of hindsight is nice here, and be like, no, don't fuck with Cortez and them, like, not the team to be on. But, if you've had generations of suffering under a different colonial power, that might seem like a real cool option. And have the opportunity to speak with Amutabi and Amani as well about, some of the other cultures we uphold in African cultures, like, the Asante Empire again on the Gold Coast. Like, the people we hear about and know are the folks that almost always map closest to like some gnarly hierarchical colonial structure, and that Western cultures recognize, like, oh, bring me to your leader. Like, oh, I see who the leader is here. I understand that structure, and that might make it in the history book, because like, we're gonna take over this shit, but like, respect, y'all had a little thing going. So anyway, any thoughts on that relationship between decolonization and indigeneity?
Yeah, I had something, Chris. I really like what you said about if you were oppressed really bad in one arena, and then you go to another colonizer, and you're like, oh, this isn't as bad. And I don't know, when you said that, it made me think of like the Great Migration, and like all the Blacks going to the North. And it's interesting to see today the makeup of that, where I see coming from the South, because there's a book I just saw about a woman being from the Great Migration and then going back to the South to rediscover her roots. And I just was thinking about that kind of same concept. And so I guess I just always feel, not always, that's bad to say, but just, I guess, stuck in that kind of limbo of which one's better, which one's not. Like it's almost like this game of cat and mouse. I don't know, but I just wanted to say that. I don't know if that was helpful. Or
Yes, short answer, yes.
It makes me think about the simplification of identity politics that we do in this country, in this world, in this time, and how we like to make indigenous folks a monolith, and how we like to make colonial folks a monolith, and how we like to think that they are separate entities and somehow alien to each other. And it makes me think about like actually kind of connecting to the Western biological thing and kind of all of this, like what is our cosmology, and connecting to what Bree said about like we participate in death as living beings, all of us, one way or another, and to really be in touch with that and impacted by that and connected to how our impact is on the world, and to have that be central to the consideration of how we form our cosmology and how we organize ourselves in our societies, feels like what we're talking about when we do the like, this is what indigenous folks are. And so this conversation is really helping like humans are all of it. Some of us all over the world have been more circle-based, more earth-based, more like their scientists are discovering that the Amazon rainforest, which we thought of as this like perfect, the lungs of the earth, actually they're finding that may be a planted food forest by the indigenous people 5,000 years ago, right? So there's a like thinking about Uncle Don's navigational strategy comment here of like assuming it's empty or prioritizing the human through our cosmologies is very different than we are a small part of this whole thing. We've got to take some to live. We've got to give some to keep everything living so that we can keep taking some to keep giving some. And like, we're going to organize ourselves in this place rather than skyscrapers. We're going to plant a food forest that will live on for thousands and thousands of years and continue to feed whoever's living here if they continue with that modality. So just thinking about like orientation and way as actually what we're trying to talk about when we do the identity politics thing of like, these people are doing this and those people are doing this and this is better and this is worse. And yeah.
Brooke, did you want to share something? I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, I was thinking about writing it in the chat, but it's
Right
just
on.
called on me. Yeah, I'm thinking this is kind of breaking my mind a little bit. Like I'm really loving this conversation. And one of the things that I've just kind of been thinking about is that it feels like, you know, if we were to, and I'm appreciating this whole question of like, did we go wrong? What's the point where we went wrong? And kind of following on what you were saying, Amani, about cosmology and how we view place in the world. It almost, I'm having this sort of feeling of like, it's almost like maybe there's like this point of prioritizing life over death. So it's like breaking out of, it's like kind of that binary, like falling into like probably one of the maybe earliest binaries, I would imagine, around life being more important than death and as being something to like really hold on to. And then that has to come at the expense of other people or other, not even people, like it would be like other beings' lives, as opposed to kind of recognizing that life and death are really just one and the same thing. And it's like this weird thing where it's like, I'm so trained to be like, well, of course you have to affirm life. Like, of course life is important and we need to protect life. And like, what are you even saying? Like, it's, you know, all of the things that we're actually protesting or feeling, you know, so enraged about are about not affirming and protecting and caring about life. And yet also there's this way that that's like broken us out of an understanding of natural relationship with all life. Anyway, that's, yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Brooke. That this life and death binary that we've hit upon, I feel like is hella generative. I feel like this is that the 14th moon we're exploring, Amani Amutabi? What's up? And I think I want to move us to this last little exercise. As Bree drops more wisdom on us in the chat, I feel like we could this is one that we could accordion for a long time, y'all. Is there any like last burning thing before we move on? I feel bad moving us, but I think this next thing will be helpful and generative as well. Cool. So what I'm going to do is put one more link in the chat. And this is to something called an easy retro board. And now that we've queered this idea of decolonization and broken our brains, Brooke, and just kind of wrestled with the complexity, I'd like to think about where does decolonization, where is it most likely to occur? Where is it least likely to occur? What conditions foster decolonization, kind of going back to that opening inquiry, and then what conditions inhibit decolonization? Again, if we're moving away from this idea of like, let's go back to 1491 and that's it, that's cool, we're done. Or again, let's push these conquistadors into the water again, and we're done. And thinking about conditions and locations of where it might occur. And that might be an internal location. You could tell me like right below my third rib on the left is where it happens. Or you could tell me there's an amazing village in Namibia where they got this practice going and they're working on this. So it could be geographical, it could be internal, could be a mix. And also, what are those conditions? So what helps give rise to decolonization, and what forms of community, what forms of introspection, and what's in the drinking water where it's happening. And so with this easy retro board, what you can do is under each of those columns, you'll see a little plus symbol. And if you click a plus symbol, and actually let me share my screen real quick so y'all can just see as I go through it. You can click a plus button, where is it most likely to occur? Under my third rib on the left. And that will populate a little tile there. And one of the cool things is there is a thumbs up. So if you resonate with somebody else's comment, you can go ahead and click that thumbs up, and we can sort by number of votes, so we can eventually see where there's heat in the group. And then also in this little kind of talk bubble, you can add a comment. So if you have a question about what someone said, or if you want to kind of second it, or in a way that is not just upvoting it, you can click in there and add a comment. So yes, I think that is all y'all would need to get started on that. Does that make sense? Cool. So I'm gonna turn on some more tunes and give us maybe 10 minutes on this. And feel free, if you have any questions, pop them in the chat or come off mute. And yeah, let's just sit with that for a little bit. Also, feel free if you want to turn the camera off or keep the camera on. It's whatever's clever. let's take a couple more minutes on this, y'all. And if you find yourself slowing down on adding tiles, please make sure to take some time to read through what's on the board currently and add any comments or thumbs up or whatnot. Even amidst the thumbs up scarcity that's going around. All right, y'all. Such rich thinking captured here. I'm gonna ask us to pause. And I should say that I'll keep this board up. I'll keep it live after the session, so folks can come back and add to it or sit with it and check it out. So it won't disappear. But you know, in our remaining time, I would like to take some of the conversations that we've had today, and especially this artifact as represented in this board, and really reflect on our own decolonial practice. And what would we like to kind of see moving forward in light of this conversation and this group of folks, what we've put together today. What do you notice about your own practice? What do you think? What are you thinking about your own practice? What are you wondering about your own practice? So would just like to give folks, and this is something I think we can maybe just start with, and I put these questions in the chat. The second one is like, is there anything you would like to change about your practice? And I should say, again, I'm not talking about necessarily some lofty, well-defined decolonial practice. It could be some small, something. I garden, and I don't often frame that in terms of my decolonial practice, but there are for sure through lines there. My desire to be connected with the land, my desire to produce some of the food that I'm consuming, my awareness of the reciprocity of that, my involvement with that soil. So again, even if we're not always thinking about it as like, this is my practice, it can qualify, it counts. So let's just take a few moments and right, Francesca, I was actually yesterday talking to a farmer homie who was asked by a restaurant. He does deliveries to some restaurants, and they asked him about a type of weed and does he have it? And he like said it tripped him out harvesting it as a crop for the first time, where he's used to like pulling it up and looking at it so negatively. And exactly. So yeah, that's part of our decolonial process too in the garden. So let's take a few minutes and you can use your own journal, but let's just do it individually for a second, and then we'll open the space for any share outs. But yeah, again, in light of this conversation, what are you thinking about your practice? What, if anything, might you tweak going forward thinking about this? Shouts out to Rhubarb, bro. And if strawberry rhubarb weed pie is your new decolonial practice, send a brother a slice. What's up?
I got you, bro. I got you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brooke, you got to send us some of that weed, though.
All right, y'all. I know that was not much time, and definitely encourage folks after we hop off here to complete that thought if it is incomplete. But just in our last couple minutes, would love to hear if anyone does have a reflection they'd like to share about maybe a commitment they're making, or a tweak to their own decolonial practice, or something there, anything y'all are holding and taking away from our time together here as well. It doesn't need to be any structural change, but yeah, just curious what folks are leaving with as we've spent like a super rich hour and a half together.
Hi, all. I just wanted to share, and I don't know if it'll be helpful to everyone, is taking care of my body. I find myself very often just not caring about my body sometimes. Being an African American woman, especially, I feel like that's such a, you growing up hearing in rap songs, it's just like your body doesn't feel like yours ever. And I never really realized that could be a part of decolonization, is actually thinking about my body in a different way. So.
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah. River?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about how easy it is for me to like spiral in towards myself. Like a somatic practitioner, I can get really down with what's going on in my body and me, and this kind of individualism. And so my practice is more trying to like spiral out towards others and making connections around me in my community.
Beautiful, thank you. Amani, I saw you came off mute. Was that a proto comment?
Yes. This has me really feeling actually very viscerally kind of some self-acceptance of like where I am genocidal, where I participate, where I don't do enough, where like I am this world that I'm angry at. And the self-acceptance being a multi-directional, like also self-acceptance of extending myself to being part of the world. And so therefore also being in some acceptance of like, here we are, this is who we are, this is what is happening. If it's not wrong, if it's hell of complex, if this is a part of nature's flow as well, there's like some freedom of like actually my rage and my grief and my like selfishness can be applied with more capacity and agency to my value set that I do want to propagate. And so there's just a like, oh, I can have all that shit that I'm angry at and I can actually put it more in service to the things that I want. So that's hella helpful.
Thank you, Amani.
Mm-hmm.
And want to lift up a comment that Bree put in the chat. The question that came up for me, what can it look like to deeply honor what I care about without diving into the story that I need to sacrifice myself to it?
Yeah.
Ooh, as an educator, that resonates so much, so much. And Francesca in the chat says, as I work in a training/educational space, trying to raise awareness of belief in white supremacy while simultaneously trying to generate ways to disrupt it, wanting to have more grace for others so I am less frustrated and can be more effective, which means having more grace for myself because I know that that's where judgment of others stems from. Thank you. I love this theme of taking care of ourselves, y'all. I mean, that especially coming off of the year plus that we've been rocking through. There's this wild thing I saw. This is a fucking tangent, so just bear with me. But like, saw this thing about like millennials, of which I'm in the fold, and like discovering rabbit ears on a TV, like, oh, you can get a couple stations if you just like as this hack, right? And sometimes I see like the self-care thing as it too. It's like, oh, we, this new Pilates technique is so amazing. It's just like, yeah, if we weren't so damn disconnected from the shit in the first place, like it wouldn't seem so novel and so different. And I saw this on the board too, that sometimes the fucked upness and the oppression and the pain are what call us our attention to that. So the fact that in this time, after the 2 years that we've just been through, that it is so self-evident that we, it's for becoming more self-evident that we need to care for ourselves, and including our corpus, like, that feels right and on time. Any last share, any last word? I want to be respectful of our time. Omitavi?
I just want to thank you all. It's been really beautiful listening, being impacted by all these shares, being in these questions. It's one of the things that I really appreciate about this Decolonization for Dreamers process, is that we really get to live in this question. It's not about the answers, it's about the exploration. I wanted to invite everybody that's here. There's 3 more talks during this new moon. Caffrey J from Hip Hop for Change has a talk tomorrow. Sochil Ashe, which is Dive into Abundance, has a talk on Tuesday. And Ice Life has a talk on Wednesday called The Fusion of Spiritual Principles and Business. And this is all the resourcing moon. All these things can be found at hoodhippieuniverse.com. You can access the calendar, you can access the Google Doc that has all this information. You all can join the EAT space online, that's free. And all these talks are free for the year. And so, yeah, you all are absolutely welcome to continue to be in these questions with us. Yeah, thank you all. It's been really good to just sit and listen today and be continually impacted by your wisdom, by the decolonial processes and practices that you all bring, and the dignity in colonization that I also feel in this space. So yeah, thank you all for being here today.
And I'll just add to that, we have some folks here who are going through a deeper dive with us beyond the free community trainings, and are sitting 3 times a month in a process called ancestral somatics, where we connect with our ancestry and we connect with our bodies, and we explore all of this through those lenses and those sites. And then we are also supporting our student body, calling in our student body to hone their decolonial practices, kind of whatever they're up to in the world with us, and to have it be kind of a practice space. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, that's on the website as well. And we'd love to go deeper with you.
And I just want to thank you 2 brothers for putting this ambitious, beautiful, visionary programming together. I mean, it's Amani will tell you, the first time he brought it up, he's like, yeah, 13 months. I was like, that sounds like a lot, bro. And to be in this space and to feel what is possible with that type of dedication and commitment to that exploration is beautiful. And I know y'all burn bright on a regular day, but I know it takes a lot. So thank y'all for putting it on the line and really giving yourself and letting this speak through you, so folks like us can have these type of experiences. And just thank each and every one of y'all for showing up today. Hell, appreciate it. I know for a couple of y'all it was last minute notice and made things work. And for all of us, we all have so many things going on, and to take the time to drop in with each other, a new group of folks, and to be vulnerable and to be down for compassionate curiosity in this way. It's just a pleasure to be a part of. So thank y'all. Sending big love through the Brady Bunch Zoom interweb wires to y'all. And yeah, hope to see y'all around the old Decolonial Ranch sometime down the path.
How do we stay in touch with your work, Chris? All the amazing things that you're up to.
Shit, I don't know. I have a hard time staying in touch with my own work.
Not much but good, is that a saying?
Good.com marinades. I think that's where, and I could throw a link up there. It's where I do things like put up pictures of pretty flowers in my garden and little things I'm thinking about. So that's a good way, but also can be in touch via email. And I think that there should be a contact on there on the website. But yeah, would love to stay in the conversation, because this is food.
Yee! And if you haven't seen the episode with Chris Darby doing some teaching on the Black Seminoles amidst our other guest teachers who will come in the next week, please check that out. This brother does some more deep teaching. Thank you so much for your brilliant mind, for your like explorations in history, for challenging us to really be real and sober about where we are, and for the way that that opens up so much possibility and peace.
Thank y'all. Feeling the love. Feeling the love.
Hey, thank you everybody for your decolonial practices and your lives and your ancestors and what you will do today. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what's up, y'all?
Thank y'all. Blessings.
Thank you.
Blessings, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Mama Lisa.
Okay, I was really embarrassed that somebody spoke for me about what my decolonizing moment was. I should have put it in the chat. That was by no means when I first. So,
Oh, the way that I heard that was not about a first, was just you noticing the
okay.
jury selection, which actually was a powerful moment that I want to go research now. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, just my,
That clarification, understood.
That's right.
Full transparency, Lisa. That's my first cousin.
Oh shit, for real?
Yeah, Jake is my first cousin.
Okay.
Oh, Jake.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
that dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, cool. Wow. What, your father's or your mother's or?
Mom, sister, son.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Nice. Wow. Okay.
We're keeping it in the family here.
That's right.
We had a rousing conversation. All right. Good to see you. Yeah, and AJ again. Come
Ajay.
through some more.
Ajay.
Ajay. Sorry.
Yee.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't say your name enough or shout you out for doing the tech things.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sorry, thank you.
To record people.
No bridges.
That's right. Holding it down right there. Decolonial work with the organization that houses us, and decolonial work in doing all the tech. Thank you so much.
And what I want to talk to y'all brothers about going forward, now that this session is done, is
You want to stop the recording?
No.
No.
Say it on camera.
Okay.
We'll cut it if we
Continue.
need to. FBI needs to hear this.
Sorry, continue, Chris.
Thank you, bro.
I really want to talk to y'all about getting some of the I hadn't thought about these type of recordings, but the Hood Hippie original, some of those things on BTV and Oakland Cable Access.
Oh yeah.
I would be down to put up a couple bucks and fill out a couple forms, if that is something y'all are open to, because I just feel like having some of the shit, even like no context, just like what is happening. Like folks need it, and I think to my own Berkeley youth and like stumbling across some things late night on BTV, like what is going on, and what that did for me. So I'm gonna follow up with y'all about that if that's okay.
Please do. Here's the link to our channel if you want to like take some look through the Who Choice playlist and see which ones stand out for you.
All right. Perfect.
And maybe some live stuff too.
Oh yeah.
That could be
I remember that BTV studio from my Berkeley High days. We get y'all in there.
Hell yeah. Is the dude with the wheelchair still on?
I don't know that, but like that you and I have like, I know exactly who you're talking about, and that programming was so deep, So yeah.
Yep.
Isn't that with Mr. French?
I did a video productions with Mr. French. That's how I ended up in that studio. That's true.
Same here. Yeah, I was part of the bomb squad.
Is that what y'all called each other?
Yeah, I think because of Public Enemy.
Oh shit. Okay. I was like, fire alarm. did it have to do with
Because there were a lot being pulled at that point. Oh shit! Yeah, thank you. That would be dope. Let's do that.
Okay. But thank y'all again. It was beautiful. It was really fun. And I'm like, I really dug the mix of a couple of the folks I'd seen at the last session and your more regular folks, and a couple of folks again. I put that email out yesterday, and so the Francesca and the Carolyn and the Jay and the Amanda, just that they showed up and were able to pop in was super cool. And
yeah.
So yes, y'all.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank y'all. We'll be in touch, everyone, and thanks again for just holding the space. This shit is dope.
Yeah, thanks for making it dope with us, bro.
Yeah, thank you so
all
much.
of y'all.
Thank you all. Yeah, it's really good.
Gardening.
Gardening. Come to the watering.
We're having some garden projects here tomorrow, and then at Blackyard in East Oakland on Sunday as part of a Tuning for Armageddon process that's part of Decolonization for Dreamers. So if y'all want to tap in, that's in the events.
Okay. I think I'm gonna be doing some solidarity watering in my own yard, but
exactly. That's the idea. Solidarity watering intended.
Yep.
Y'all be good.
Okay. Peace out.
All right, y'all.
Any debrief y'all need?
No, how about you?
I don't know. I don't think I have anything from the event. I kind of like lost all the steam when you asked me for a proposal, so I'm just conscious that that's yeah, something for me to do.
Cool. And I mean, I feel open if you want to like create an outline for a proposal, or like just kind of what you are carrying that you do know that you are kind of working with and wanting, if you would like some kind of support to like think through that, or to have us edit it, or like what could be available for something like that too. Or that could be what we do on a meeting.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. It was really good to have you here.
You too. Keep me updated about any support or any other collaboration opportunities, ideations, whatever.
Okay. Yee. And you're always invited to these spaces.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace, fam, bro.
Bye.
Who's next?
Who's next?